Hey.
So, what are we going to talk about today, Rita?
We are talking about Real by Katy Evans.
A book that you love, that is near and dear to you. You want that book to get you pregnant.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. This was a lot of inspiration for me, and Remington, or Remy, as we will talk about, is obviously my ideal for a future mate.
Because, well, never mind. Anyway, well, we put out a teaser, and I have to say, looking back at our past conversations on Messenger, this is what led us to hate reading.
Yes, absolutely. Hate reading, for those of you who've forgotten, I don't know how you could, is the art of reading books we dislike or suspect we're not going to like, to discuss maybe why they're so popular. I think Real by Katy Evans was a book that piqued our interest because it is so beloved. At this point, there's 7 books in this series. It has a 4.22 on Goodreads. And Rainey, how many translations do we have of it now?
Well, I saw one for Spanish and I saw one in German. So it's fair to say that it's gone international. And this is what we do for you. This is what we do for you, Mom, who's probably the only one listening to me.
We read them so that you don't have to, which was sort of the inspiration behind us calling this the Underbelly, because we read and we watch things that are sort of underground or in the undercurrent, or things that we consider sort of the shady part of art.
The questionable parts of pop culture.
Questionable parts, absolutely. And somehow we're going to discuss this book, and we are going to tie it into, drum roll please,
da 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 da,
the ever popular Bachelor in Paradise, not to be confused with The Bachelor or The Bachelorette, but Bachelor in Paradise is a spin-off show containing rejects from the other shows and how they vie for affections on there. But that's going to be a small part of it. We're really just going to decimate this book because this was one of our first hate reading novels. Man, did we hate it.
And you know what? I think this is what cemented our friendship. I mean, it's like, after going through this, I cannot leave you alone.
No, because we both know what we can stand, and we stood it together, and that's meaningful there.
You're my real, Rita. You are my real.
You're my real, Rainey.
Okay, so I'm going to try to recap this.
Oh, Jesus.
All right, so
this piece of shit.
I'm going to set the scene. So welcome to the world of underground boxing, underground MMA. I'm not sure. He is a fighter though, but I'm never sure if he's just a boxer or he's an MMA fighter.
Yeah, I know. They're never clear on that. They're never clear on anything except sex, but I digress. And misgivings of bipolar disorder. But go ahead, sorry.
Okay. No, please help me out. So Brooke Dumas, or Dumas, I'm not sure, but she is a former Olympic hopeful who either tore her ACL or her ankle. Again, we're not sure. And this isn't because we haven't read it. It's the actual writing. Rita and I are pretty literate people. We can borrow a story. We can follow a storyline. It's just we're never sure. But now that either she tore her ankle or her ACL, she is now either a masseuse, physical therapist, trainer. Something.
Yeah. Something that allows her to touch him a lot.
Which, by the way, leads her to meeting Remington Tate, Remy, who, okay, I know they're very clear that Brooke is tiny and delicate and, small, but from what I got from the reading, and correct me if I'm wrong, Rita, isn't, Remy basically just shy of the Hulk?
Basically, and there's numerous references to him being an animal in the text. She calls him an animal. She'll describe him as like a man, which always confused me, and I highlighted it continuously because I was like, well, if he's like a man, then what is he? So
I see him as a cross between, like, Sasquatch and a shaved gorilla.
Right, and he didn't really have any other feelings besides, like, lust and rage. Like, I don't really know what
jealousy.
Exactly jealousy. Right. So it was kind of thing. So he reminded me of, like, he's like Bane from the Batman universe.
Yeah. Basically the size of a barn. There we go. Like the mountain from Game of Thrones. Like that.
Yeah.
He was left in an institution at, like,
13, 12.
Yeah, very young, and he had to learn to fight all his way to the top.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah,
he loves to fight. When he isn't yelling or breaking things, having sex.
Oh my God.
I will say though, despite being unclear about what type of Olympic event Brooke did, how big Remy is, any of these other things, I do know that he has a very nice ass because she talks about it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
He has honey whiskey eyes, and I've looked at my dad's alcohol. That is not an attractive color.
Nope.
And, he likes to sniff women.
No, you're phrasing that incorrectly.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Scent women?
Scent women, I'm sorry.
That's how she scented me, or he scented me.
I guess the way an animal does. Well, maybe that explains why she says he's like a man. Like a human.
Like a man.
Like a human.
Like, if you're going to write like a man,
mm-hmm.
if you're like something, that means you're not really it. You just resemble it.
Humanoid.
So, right. So, like, is he some sort of creature that's been invented? I have no idea. It's really alarming.
Okay, so she sees him. She sees him, and it's lust at first sight.
Right. He comes out of the boxing ring, he stalks across the crowd, and kisses her right off the bat.
Like, scenting her with his pheromones. Nah.
And wouldn't that win you over, Rainey, if you just went to a location like that with your friend, and it's this underground boxing ring, and he just gets off this man, but he's not really a man, he's like a man, and he approaches you, and he scents you. Not smells you, he scents you, and then he gives you a big kiss. You've never met him before. Wouldn't that just automatically win you over?
No. I mean, yeah, no. I'm trying to think of any scenario where that would be okay, but no, not even. And but anyway, that gets her going. That I'm not kidding you.
Wait, Rainey, everything gets her going.
Yeah, you just look at this woman cross-eyed, and she can orgasm.
Like the intimate scene where she orgasms against his thigh.
Oh,
no, against nubbin.
I was gonna say that.
Strong orgasm, because that's normal.
You know what? Maybe I'm a little bit jealous. Maybe I am that she.
It sounds rather strange, and I feel like we're getting ahead of ourselves. But she becomes furious after because he holds off. And she wants more, yeah. Which is actually kind of explains her whole character. Like, forget about her injury or her quest for the Olympics or any of that nonsense. The book boils her down to a whole bunch of hormones. She's nothing but hormones.
And you know, this is a thing that I actually found a bit problematic in Real. Is that for someone, I feel like she treats him as an animal.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, I want sex right now. Give me sex.
Yeah, which is not typically what you would expect. And she becomes very furious with him when he doesn't do it. And he's giving her all the things that typically women say that they want, or, are portrayed in these books. Like, he sits with her, he talks to her deeply, sort of, as deeply as he can get, because, he's not a man, he's not a human being, but whatever. And he's got this whole dark past he's not really talking too much about, but, he sits with her, he talks with her, he plays her music, which we'll get to later, that he, is deepening their relationship. But that's not enough for her.
No, it's not.
She needs to be scented in a stronger way.
And I think in any type of book, when the hero is like pressuring the heroine, if the heroine were to say, I'm not ready for sex, this wouldn't be the hero, or he would be a quote unquote problematic hero. And, for her, it's like, what's wrong with you? Why won't you, sex me now? Why will you not have the sex with me when I want you?
Right. And it's also it also like weakens the whole romance novel angle here, because there's really nothing, being attracted to somebody at first sight and kind of slowly developing a relationship, and that's fine. But when she's reacting like that, it boils it down to nothing but sex. And and actually in Goodreads comments that I've read that haven't been praising the book complain about it being over sexualized. Like, even if they like it, they say that it's too much. And that Brooke just became too much of this, like, hormonal, horny, lusty, mindless woman who is just pursuing him for a piece of ass. That's kind of what it's like.
Well, this goes to one of our guiding questions, right? Do you see this as being the trend to a lot of contemporary romances?
Yeah. This, like, moody guy who he was a bit elusive, and he has this dark past that you don't really know about. And this girl, and this goes back to Twilight, and I joked about it with you before, but I'm 100% serious. There were times when I was reading, my Kindle app, that I would make a comment and I'd be like, is this freaking Twilight? Because there would be something that I remembered directly from the book series, or something that heavily reminded me of that. And I find that reading a lot of this genre. There's this girl or this woman who is at first sort of created by the author as this very independent, quirky, there's something usually unique about her, maybe a little lonely, beautiful, but not really pursued by many, or pursued by one, but not pursued by who she wants to be pursued by. And then there's this guy that is introduced, and there's this like problematic relationship, but everybody kind of accepts it as gospel. And I feel like it is being duplicated over and over and over again in this genre. And I think the only reason why I would explain why it would be is because it's become very profitable. I mean, many people are writing series now. It's not just one book. They stretch it out as much as they can into multiple books in a series, and they just, it's disgusting, really.
I think it cements how right you are, because when I was reading this, I felt like, oh my God, am I reading 50 Shades of Grey again? But coming to this, right, which I think segues us to question 2, is this what women want? Now, as a woman myself...
Are you like a woman, or are you a woman? Because,
This is so not what I want.
Like Katy Evans.
Maybe...
That's how Katy Evans described it. Nobody's really just,
a human being. We are like a human being. But I don't know if this is telling me I'm not in vogue, I'm not cool. Rita, am I cool? But this isn't what I want.
Cool. No, you're super cool.
I'm super cool because I'm agreeing with you.
No, I am independently judging you super cool.
Okay, but as you mentioned, this has an amazing rating on Goodreads, right?
Mm-hmm. 4.22. Unreal. Out of 5.
Yeah, and this also has a good rating on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
And it's spun into a 7-book series. Is this what women want? Is this what we want?
I think that it is alarming when you go onto Goodreads and you read that rating and you read the reviews, which I can't help but do. Like, I do that when I watch a movie, when I do that when I read a book. I have to see what other people are saying about it, because especially if I hate it, I'm like, wait, how was this made? Why did I even hear of this title? There must be a reason. I read that made me want to read this book was someone who posted her fiance's reactions to different parts, and that was her post. But then you read posts from people who love it, and I read why, or there's people who, have a mild response to it, and they're like, okay, I'm not that crazy about it, but there were parts of it that were really readable, or I agreed with this part, or I think that this is attractive, or whatever, and I'm boggled by it. And I think that women, there is a good percentage of women who do want this, and I don't necessarily know why. I mean, I have a few suspicions. I haven't studied it enough to give a great answer, but I think that there is a reasonable percentage of women who want exactly what Remy is offering. I don't. You don't.
Well, okay.
But you are.
Can I be slightly misogynistic for a moment? And you won't take away my woman's card from me?
No.
Oh.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Oh, okay. You know how we want a project?
What?
Women want a project. Like, he is a horrible beast man, but I, with the power of my magical love, which is also magical, can fix him.
Yeah. You want a project. I agree with you. And I think also that there's something about the mysterious guy. Like, I find it even when, reading and writing something, that you want to make the guy mysterious for some reason, because mystery is interesting. You want to get to the answer of something. So that might also be part of it. I'm not really sure. I agree with you about the project.
So, you know what? Let's skip ahead to number 9, because you mentioned this. Remy is a mystery, right? Mm-hmm. Brooke is a mystery. We're even not sure about what she did in the Olympics, and we're
not even talking about her friends. When she talks about her friends, you kind of get a semi-introduction in the beginning, and then later on in the book, I made note of that she runs into one friend, or one friend visits her, or something like that, and she just kind of gives her the rundown about the other friends.
I'm not sure that Brooke has any friends. I wouldn't be friends with Brooke at all. She just ditched one of her friends, after she met him.
Yeah, would you just want to hear about Remy all day? I wouldn't.
But, I would never ditch you for Remy, just so you know that, Rita. I'm pretty sure, I don't know, maybe you're just, the lady doth protest too much. Maybe you secretly want to be scented by a small barnyard animal.
Don't make me vomit.
But do you think that if we had known more about them, we would be more invested in them?
No.
Nothing here?
My feeling is that, I care very much about the here and now when I'm reading the story. And I think that there are subtle, effective ways to describe a character and allude to their past and what makes them them, without going too far or being too overt or, hitting you over the head too much. And I think that Katy Evans here, she gave you a bit of a background, because I feel like she felt like it fit into a formula. Like, oh, I need to say this to get to here. Stuff like that. And I thought that she did a really poor job of it.
Okay. So I agree with you. I don't need to know too much about a backstory, But the here and now. Let's talk about something that I know that you and I feel really passionate about. The goddamn playlist.
Oh.
Now, I can't get over that they have their own Spotify playlist.
It's so depressing.
But you know what? Remember how you sent me a lot of those deviant art pictures of people making a tribute to them? Are we surprised that they have their own Spotify playlist?
I guess I'm not surprised. I'm just disappointed. I guess it's the best adjective for that. That people, like, the only good song I can remember off the top of my head that they use is Iris by the Goo Goo Dolls.
Yeah, that was mine.
They have ruined that for me, and I believe for you, forever. I can't listen to it.
I don't mind Avril Lavigne.
Stop.
Okay.
Stop about there's a scene where she wants to show how she feels, so she plays I Love You by Avril Lavigne for him.
Well, because it makes sense, and I know we're skipping around in here, but this goes under the genre question, and it's something you and I just discovered, the new adult genre, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to make a bridge. This goes with it being a new adult genre where people are, 18 to 30, and it's aimed for people who are 18 to 30. Yeah. So I kind of feel like the music reflects, their age.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you, right? Like, she's been growing up listening to Avril Lavigne, absolutely. Mm-hmm. And I also just want to make, like, a side note that it's funny to me, the first time that I became conscious of people using playlists for their stories that would play into their stories, and then they would also give it to you at the beginning or the end so that you could listen to as well, was Twilight by Stephenie Meyer. She did that. Like, the songs would become part of the plot, and then she would also give you the beginning, and she would say, like, this is the playlist. So this is one of the other few books that I've come across that have done it.
Ugh, this shit.
I have to tell you that, the choices definitely reflect the age of the characters. We're talking about Avril Lavigne, but seriously, it's just such shitty choices. And I also think that it's shitty storytelling. I get maybe using one or two scenes if it helps paint the scene, or if it gives you some information about what's going on, or, you know what I'm saying, like setting it, for example.
Yeah, but I mean, I think
it's lazy storytelling to just have, this song was playing then, and this, so to kind of further the plot along, as well as instead of accenting it.
I mean, I don't mind when authors set up, the song, they mention a song that's playing on the radio. That's fine. And I think I do agree with you that I think it's a way to cop out if you say, oh, and this song totally matches what we're feeling. Yeah. It's like a little too on the nose.
It's lazy storytelling. It's like, if it's not, like you said, if it's playing on the radio and you mention it, or if you say they were dancing to this song while it's happening, and it's something that accents it, as opposed to explaining a scene or kind of explaining the emotions behind people, I think it's just...
What? Are you saying Remy and Brooke don't have enough emotional depth that she has to take a cheap way out? What?
I would never say that, because it's not true at all. What do you mean?
I do wonder if, because it's the genre of new adult, is it like something, are people more forgiving? Like how I know some people are a little more forgiving when it's young adult books, and you're like, oh, well, it doesn't matter. It's just a young adult book. Like the same way some people are dismissive about a children's movie, why are you being so hard? It's a movie for children.
I agree with you. And I think at 18 to 30, that it's your years where you're putting in a lot of work to get the foundation for the rest of your life. I'm not going to argue that, a 30-year-old works more than a 50-year-old, but I'm saying that if you're 18 to 30, you're figuring out who you are, you're just becoming an adult, you're just getting more responsibilities that you're not used to having before. And I think that maybe that might explain why people are more looking for escapism and more forgiving of whatever that escapism offers.
Fair enough. Okay. Going back to the recap. So, the conflict of the book, right?
Yeah.
And I guess this leads us up to number 3 and number 11 with, is this book romantic? Is it really intense? And, do you believe their happy ending? So, Remy has an arch nemesis, because of course he does, and it is the scorpion.
Or Scorpy, as they call him, as they call him in the book, Scorpy. Are you kidding me?
Or the reptile man, because Brooke does not know the difference between an insect and a reptile.
Right. Well, she can't, because can you blame her? All of her blood flow is in her vagina right now, not in her baby.
Now. I know that you and I are just secretly jealous because this, god damn, she wears such tight pants. I'm afraid for her. That woman can orgasm on command.
Apparently, or his thighs are just that sharp. That hard. I don't know.
Vibrating. I don't know. But,
he's not human after all, so he's not really human, so.
But, Brooke has a sister, Nora, right?
Of course she does.
And Nora is supposed to be in Australia for whatever reason. I'm sorry, I don't remember. But she turns. What was that?
Katy Evans doesn't care about where she was either, so why should we?
No, but I remember. But Brooke mentioned that Nora was sending postcards from Australia to her parents.
Yeah. They never really explain why, I don't think.
Yeah, but she was there, as you do, because I don't know, you go to Australia. It's as you do.
Why not?
And then she's there, Nora, is there on the scorpion side, right? During a fight. And Nora is looking pale, bad hair, skinny. And, okay, now I need a drum roll, has a face tattoo of a scorpion.
There's no going back from that, guys. There's no going back from that. Tattoos are forever. Get the laser. Sometimes it doesn't come out and on your face.
So, of course, Brooke has to go rescue her idiot baby sister, right?
Jesus.
And she has to get permission from the scorpion to talk to Nora. And of course, Brooke, being the idiot that she is, doesn't tell Remy, hey, that's my baby sister. I don't know what's wrong. I want to talk to her. She sneaks out. And in order to talk to Nora, the scorpion makes her kiss his tattoo. And somebody in his entourage, because of course he has an entourage. Who doesn't have an entourage? You know what? Why don't we have an entourage?
I wouldn't know what to do with them. I'd be like, oh my god, step back, you're on top of me. I can't handle many people being on top of me like that.
But someone takes a picture or a video. You know what? I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm doing such a bad job with this recap. I'm sorry.
Well, can I make a note that kind of goes along with this? So, earlier in the book, she's already kind of into Remy, and he has sort of a meltdown that's not really explained very well. And she goes to talk to him, to comfort him or whatever, in his hotel room, I think. And one of the guys in his entourage has invited over 3 girls or something like that.
Yeah.
Walks in to talk to him, and I think she just overhears, like she kind of sees them, but she overhears. Nothing's happening. But she sees them, and I think it's 3 girls, and for like 2 chapters, referring to them, and she calls them horses. Like, I'm confused. Or because somebody invited back to the hotel room and they went. Like, I'm not really sure. And I think it comes out that nothing even ever happened. And I wonder where, like, and it was so overt to me. Like, every time she referred to the girl, she wasn't like those girls that were in his room or those, skanky women. It was never like a different word. Katy Evans always had Brooke describe them as whores. Which I actually found myself, and I'm not that self-righteous, I'm not that sanctimonious, but I actually found myself noticing it.
Yeah, no, I want to go back that this book, I was disturbed by the misogyny, and I don't think, I mean, it's written to empower Brooke. Like, Brooke is special because she's not.
Brooke ends up being just as skanky as those girls, if not more so, by going over and kissing his face tattoo or whatever.
I love how your voice just drops an octave when you say face tattoo. No, but like, how Brooke is not like those other girls because, her feelings for Remy are real. These girls just want to, fuck him because he's a beast in the ring. Never mind that she calls him a beast in her mind.
Yeah, I know it really just bothered me, and I kept highlighting it, and it happened more than several times that she just kept saying, oh, well, it reminds me of when those whores were in his room, or, he's probably thinking about those whores in his room, and I was like,
who the fuck do you think you are?
You don't mean anything to him yet anyway. Like, she did because, for some inexplicable reason he was so into her, but at that point in time, like, what claim did she think she had? Well, and if those girls want to be in his room and be sketchy like that, they can be.
Okay, well, let's talk about some of the things that really, really disturbed us, and this is going into personal effect. I was totally I was blown away, really, by just how bonkers this book was. I mean, I could ignore the lack of a backstory because sometimes you don't need it. I could ignore the fact that she has disappearing friends who just go away and never come back. I can ignore the fact, well, actually I can't ignore the fact that she doesn't know the difference between her ACL and her knee. I can ignore the fact that this woman is supposed to be a trained Olympic athlete, but then is shocked with his dedication for his training. It's like, how were you training for the Olympics if you didn't have this drive? What?
Right.
I can even deal with the fact that she had no clear-cut job because, well, I mean, sometimes that happens. But the one that really got to me was Brooke's idea that everyone else is a skank because they're not here for the right reasons. And I don't know if this is just me just cringing every time I hear that because it reminds me of The Bachelor and The Bachelorette. People are not here for the right reasons.
Right. Nobody's there for the right reasons. Calm down.
But yeah, that's what got to me.
What are the right reasons, Brooke? What are the right reasons?
To kiss the scorpion's tattoo.
Can I just talk about what we were saying before? Is this even romantic? Going back to that. And I also just want to read a couple quotes from passages that I had saved because they're all heinous. Mm-hmm. And that backs up my answer. So,
okay.
No, I don't think it's romantic. I don't think that Brooke is somebody who's likable and that you should even be cheering on to be in a happy relationship. I mean, whatever. Everybody's entitled to be in their relationships. But I'm just saying, you have to want to root on a character. For everything that you just mentioned to remind us of this whole story, there's nothing about her for us to even care about. And even less to care about Remy. And I just have to read this because this goes back to her being so sexualized and why I think it's not romantic. I can see it being romantic or a turn on or sexual for some people who have like fetishes. And this will point to that. So there's one part where she talks about Remy like this. By the way, mm-hmm. I hope that I never describe a guy like this. Because it is just so basic and so physical and so disgusting. Even in sweatpants and an easy t-shirt, there's no way you can miss the clench of the muscles of his upper body through the damp cotton fabric, and the way his sweatpants hang low on his narrow hips make my breasts feel so heavy and painful. I swear to God, I can't imagine how it will feel when I'm lactating one day.
Okay, I can up you with this. Are you ready?
Yeah, up me. Come on, let's go. Bring it.
All right. At the first scrape of my nubbin against the rock-hard quad of muscle on his thigh, I explode.
Stop. Here, wait. Listen to
Okay, maybe, no, one more. Just one more.
Okay.
He keeps making sexual foreplay to my ear.
Oh my God, I saved that one too. Is she fucking kidding me? How can you make foreplay to her? Like, I can't. He makes me feel 18, virginal and wanton, just thinking of boys, except he only makes me think of one. And he's very male, very man, but a little bit playful like a boy. A big bad boy who had funs with his little whores on his coffee table last night. What?
Stop!
I don't know her age. I'm not even sure she's 30 yet, okay? I'm 27, almost 28. I don't ever think about being 18. I don't want to feel 18 when I'm with someone. That's weird. Virginal and wanton, just thinking of boys, except she makes me think of one. She says, he's very male, very man. First of all, man is not really an adjective, very man. Like, she should have said masculine, but I think she's trying to remind us or trying to make us think he is a man, even though the way she describes him is not a man. I don't get it.
When he slides his sweatpants off, I'm fainting with the sight of 10 Remington's butts. Because they're in the bathroom.
What?
They're in the bathroom, so she sees, like, the reflection. Which, by the way, I have to point out that she is hired by his people, right?
Right.
Excuse me, you cannot touch him like that. But, you know, what's a little bit of, like, unprofessionalism when we're already here? Oh, wait. My genetically induced mating instincts are at full attention, roaring inside me.
I saved that. Like, what the fuck? Anyway.
Back to this. To all the clenching. I'm so sorry. There's so much clenching in here. My genes and DNA is a natural desire for healthy offspring, and it comes with a desperate desire to mate.
She must have, like, a reproduction fetish, like pregnancy fetish.
My sex muscles clench every time he hits his opponent. His hands clench on my hip, and my womb clenches with it so much it's painful. I almost whimper. Oh, good job of using clench and clench in the same sentence.
It's clench all the time. Like, she has one point where she says, he sends me my sex muscles clench or something. Wait, so this is when they keep doing their song game where they pass each other a song.
Mm-hmm.
He passes me a song. I'm too lazy to pass him any of mine, so I just listen. Nora Jones's Smoky Beautiful, Come Away With Me begins playing, sensually proposing that I do exactly as the title suggests. Let me tell you something, Rainey. If a guy was like, I want you to listen to this song, and it was Nora Jones, Come Away With Me. I don't really know what I would do, but I would make some excuse to leave.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
I kind of like Come Away With Me.
But that's not even the point that I make. If a guy
can express himself only in Nora Jones songs.
And it's weird because it's an old song at this point. I was in high school. Mm-hmm. I think I was like a freshman. No, I was a sophomore or junior. It was a while ago, and I just...
I think I was a freshman in college. Oh my God, I'm so much older than you. You're a baby.
Oh my gosh, come on. But, you know, instead of just choosing a recent-ish song, I think my problem was that it was just a really random song. And I think it's just probably a song that Katy Evans probably plays in her playlist every night before she goes to bed. Thing that really gave us any more insight into his character.
I love how we're just trying to imagine her life and we're just judging so hard. We're judging just like she judges those girls.
But I also have to point out her ridiculous metaphors that she keeps using.
Oh, can I give you one? Can I give you one, please?
Yes.
I feel like he's a lazy lion bathing me with his tongue, licking and nuzzling me. In case you don't realize, that's me trying to use my sexy voice. I'm sorry.
No, it's ridiculous. Like the metaphors that she chooses to use, it's just terrible. Like when she says, wait, there is literally a ball of fire in my throat, and I can't even swallow my saliva. First of all, why are you bringing up saliva? That's weird. Like, it doesn't sound the whole sentence.
Okay.
It sounds weird.
Can
we literally see a fire in your throat.
Can we also talk about the writing? Just the writing?
The heinousness of the writing? Sure.
Okay. Let me give you something that I did save. Do you like it when I smear your skin with me? God, I love it when he calls his semen him. Or this. I eagerly push my breast to his chest and anxiously rub my pained nipples against his diaphragm.
What about the fact that he smears himself all over her abdomen, and she says something about, like, what does this mean for us? He says, it means I want to eat you, your little biceps, your little triceps. And then he says, now you, what does it mean for you? She goes, seizing his hand, I squeeze it in between our bodies so he can feel all of what he smeared me with across my abdomen. It means I'm going French this week and not showering so I can smell you on me. Rainey, I had to Google what going French meant, number one.
It's randomly insulting in certain places, right? Like the random misogyny, the random xenophobia.
It means that she's not going to shower, she's going to go French. I didn't know what that meant. First of all, it's disgusting, especially because in the sex scene that precedes this, it was really messy.
But what a way to just, like, paint all of these French people as, like, not hygienic, So, like, I'm like, whoa, the random xenophobic comments out of nowhere.
I know. And I think that this also highlights horrendous writing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm completely eroticized, which doesn't make sense. And then there's this section that I continued where where she's talking to one of his guys, Pete.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, with the dates, they both switch gum, like they borrow gum from each other.
Mm-hmm.
And which is weird because she talks about it way too much. And I'm like, just say that you had gum. Like, I don't get why. So she says, with a dazed expression, I stare down at the proffered gum, then fold one silver foil open and pop the gum into my mouth, the juice bursting on my first munch so completely that it makes me have to bite several times before speaking. What do you mean he's on top of that? Blah, 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 blah. Pete grimaces as if the gum in his mouth tastes like bitter whole coffee beans. At one of the carousels, a little boy runs around, tripping with suitcases, while the flustered father tries to catch up to the toddler. We both seem to watch in amusement. First of all, what's happening there? Why is she writing so much of that stuff? What does that have to do with anything?
Okay, but see, that's the thing. This is what drives me crazy because of the inconsistent writing. Now, that is way too much detail about gum and carousel people. But do you remember that character Pete? Is it just Pete? Is he also called Pedro? Is Pedro a different guy? I don't know.
They randomly call him Pedro. So should we also talk about mental illness problem in this book?
You need to handle it because I think I'm just going to start growling like an angry Remington Tate.
So, I mean, I suppose that I can comment on it being from the fact that, like, you know, I've suffered from different degrees of mental illness in my life and whatever. And so, reading this, I actually found myself, and like I said before, I try not to become too PC and self-righteous and all that stuff. That should speak to how bad this is, I found myself becoming offended. So apparently, it turns out that Remy, dear Remy, has a bipolar disorder.
Yes, but he refuses to take drugs, right? He refuses.
He says he's unmedicated because he doesn't like the way that he feels, which I have to be honest with you, it's very unlikely.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not speaking for every case, but the way that they describe his case, it seems like it's very serious, and he has these episodes where he blacks out.
And he flips fucking tables in public.
Right.
I'm not even speaking as a metaphor.
Right. And when he blacks out, he says that, you know, he can't remember it. So this sounds like alarming things to me. Like, I might not be so accepting of him not being medicated, but she's very accepting of it when he says it. So she ends up finding out, and then she says at one point, I love this man. Yes, he is a man who will be difficult and bipolar to boot. He says later on, I want to be with my big, crazy, sexy, used to the man, and I won't apologize to anyone for it. He's bipolar, and I'm crazy about him. I think I have something else here, but you know, it's
No. Oh, here's the thing. He says, I don't want to put chemicals in my body, right? Hello, we're all made of chemicals.
Right. And then she says something about how, you know, he's a carefully crafted athletic person and whatever, and that it, you know, that would somehow destroy him. And I really was bothered by how he probably really needs to be on medication. I'm kind of confused as to why all these people, and by the way, when he has these crazy blackouts and does things he can't remember and they're bad things, his team comes and injects him with tranquilizers like he's a fucking zoo animal.
Like he's the Hulk. Or Sasquatch.
It's really serious.
No, but see, okay, remember how this whole thing about me obsessing about small details?
Mm-hmm.
Why is he okay with his team tranking him, right? Because it seems like this is they're set for this, right?
Well, he's so self-loathing, though. Like, and that's another thing. If you're going to be so self-loathing about something that you have, which is becoming more normalized, then you should really be on medication.
But, like, okay, he's okay with being tranked, but he won't take medication. That's the thing that I can't understand, Rita. Like, I don't get it.
Well, he says that it's going to make him feel dead. And there are some medications that, you know, for instance, and this seems to be most important to Brooke, so maybe I should mention it. I kind of felt this undercurrent anyway. Sometimes when you're on those medications, you have no desire to have sex.
No, I mean, I get that. And also, if he doesn't feel right on those medications, I don't know if he knows this, because this is a man who can spend like $1 million and not know what he spends it on.
Right.
But you can tell your doctor, I want a different medicine. You know, your doctors want to work with you. Responsible doctors, anyway.
So you could try out different kinds, but like you said, it's so weird. He'd prefer his friends just tranquilizing him. And, you know, he could really do something very harmful and very devastating. And
that's what he's also afraid of.
Right.
Like he is filled with self-loathing. You're absolutely right on that one. This guy like literally hates himself.
Shall I also make the connection to Twilight? Like when I was reading this, I was like, oh my god, this is like Edward being the vampire and not wanting Bella around because he might do something dangerous. To me, every time I thought of that, because there were a lot of instances, I was like, is this Twilight fan fiction? Because this just doesn't make sense to me. And people around him that supposedly care about him, and Brooke falls in love with him, and she's supposed to care about him, and they're okay with him every now and then getting tranquilized. Like,
actually, I laughed because I could hear Christian Grey saying, "I'm 50 Shades of fucked up." Please don't hate me.
It's really messed up. So, in the end, first of all, do you think, one of our questions here, we talk about how it's been described as intense. Do you really think that this is intense? And how do you think this compares to other intense books?
I think the degree of loathing I feel for this book is intense, and if that is our metric stick of looking at it, yes, this book is intense.
I think it's trying too hard to be intense. I think I just have to laugh at it. And one of the other questions we have here is, would you recommend this book? Why or why not? And who would you recommend it to? And I have an answer here. I jotted it down because I didn't want to forget.
To Rainey? You'd give it to Rainey because you hate me?
I said no, only as a joke or to people I hate.
I put in my answer, I would recommend this to someone for like a hate read, or if we were going to go around and like talk about how bad this is. Yeah. That kind of thing.
You know what though? I have to say, and it goes back to our hate reading and why we do this. I'm proud of us for doing this because, you know what? It keeps us up on the current stuff and the current trends and what's going on, and maybe somebody will listen and be like, this is not how healthy relationships should be. This is not how a courtship should be. This is not how a man should act or a woman should act. There's something wrong here.
Can I go back to some more of the quotes?
Please do.
I spent extra time rubbing his deltoids, the roundest, squarest part of the shoulder. I'm like, what? What? I don't even understand that.
Wait, I have this. So Remy's about to fight, and he does his signature turn as the crowd roars his name, his muscular arms outstretched, corded with veins, and the screams get louder and louder, for the people love the way he turns, his boyish face and manly body. Eyes that promises them a good show. Manly body. What is with the dichotomy between boy and man that she's obsessed with?
He buzzes his nose to my temple.
I find it. It is the perfect song to tell him I am crazy about every special part of him. So I select Avril Lavigne's I Love You and play it.
Okay, how about this? We needed to stop. Sometimes we hear music, turn on the TV, or eat. Okay. I'm glad you can hear music.
Even if I screw this up,
Hello? Okay, we're low tech. That's part of our charm.
Yes. It's fine. So now my question to you is, how do we tie this to Bachelor in Paradise?
These are the people who would be kicked off Bachelor in Paradise the first time.
Yeah, I feel like the whole goal of the show is to get somebody who likes you enough for that week to vote for you, and then people come back in after people leave. There's always a lot of people there. I feel like Remy is the type of character to come on and, talk about this dark past and have all these, demons and whatever, and he would constantly be looking for a date.
I see Remy as somebody who gets kicked off the first night in Bachelorette, but he would make such an impression on the audience, that they would want him to be in Bachelor in Paradise just to see if he could be even more bonkers.
Yeah. Painted as such a big monstrous character. Monstrous physically, not, personally, even though he kind of is. But why do we even watch Bachelor in Paradise? And yet I can visualize all of this.
Well, I know I watch it because I am a sweet angel baby, and you bullied me into watching Bachelor and Bachelorette.
Well, I need to correct that.
I'm adjusting my halo right now.
What?
I'm adjusting my halo right now.
Oh, you're right. Well, I started watching this ridiculous show when Juan Pablo was on. And I think it was because I was watching something that was directly on before it, and it came on and I sort of became entranced. He was just so ridiculous that I found myself watching. I'm not sure I've watched a season completely after that, but sometimes I, dip into it. And then Bachelor in Paradise came on, and it was this show about dating in a paradise, someplace in Mexico, some resort in Mexico. And it's these horrible characters vying for each other. People who were characters and failed on other seasons of Bachelor and Bachelorette. And when we were talking about this, we were also talking about Bachelor in Paradise, and I was like, oh my God, Rainey, these people could be on this show.
Oh, yes, definitely. Brooke talking about people being here with the wrong agenda, the wrong intentions.
They're whores.
Yeah, well, you're also behaving in the exact same way, Brooke. What makes you any different?
And I just think, when we go back to our question before about, do people find this romantic? Are people attracted to this? Why is it so popular? I think Bachelor in Paradise is a good example of that, too. There are people who watch that religiously like it's the Bible, and believe all of it and think all of it's true and not just sensationalized for TV, and think it's romantic. And I think that kind of explains real to a certain extent.
Oh, so much so. So I have to ask, and I know this isn't on our list of questions, with how awful Real is, do you want to try to read the other books in the series? Because I don't want to.
I don't want to. It's tempting only because there's 6 more books.
Mm-hmm.
And I really kind of am morbidly curious as to what else Katy Evans could have written. But this goes along with something that we've talked about in the past, books being in series, and is that really appealing, and, what makes it appealing, if anything. If there were going to be series to books, I prefer it be about other characters. So I don't know if it's about the other characters in the book.
I don't give a damn about Nora or Scorpion or Pedro Pete.
Exactly. I feel like there's other books for us to hate read. I feel like we've covered Katy Evans. I don't think that she could get better.
I do want to know if she got a thesaurus and learned another word for clench.
Doubtful. And I don't have any, so, part of hate reading, why it's fun, is finding something that other people have found, interesting enough to bring up and being like, well, what's problematic about it? We already know what's problematic about Katy Evans. I hate those characters so much that I don't even want to,
visit them again. We don't want to visit them again.
No, I don't care what's happening to them past the first book. When we were done with that, we both messaged each other and we were like, we've been through war. It was just so horrendous that we needed to finish it.
I no longer fear hell because I have read Real.
Well, and I think that it would be more interesting for us to find other different books to hate read and expose and, go through what's wrong with them. Because I know, and that's the alarming thing about Goodreads, there are so many books on there that are just really terrible and they get upvoted, and I'm really curious to know how that even works.
Well, the next time we talk, we're going to be talking about Flowers in the Attic Part 2.
Yep.
Okay, well, this was super fun. Good night, everyone. Please find us on Twitter. Email us at our Google email. It's going to be in the descriptions. And if you have any suggestions, please let us know.
Please do.
All right. Goodbye.
Goodbye.